Welcome to the Spiritual Alien Podcast, a podcast for starseeds and light workers looking for inspiration and guidance on topics relating to spirituality, New Age teachings, and ET phenomena. I am Zeta, and I am here to help you step into your own inner power so that you can light up the world by being your most authentic self. Remember, no one is you, and that is your power. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Alien Podcast. So, to continue the Symposium series, Daniel James is the next special guest on this episode. Daniel James is one of the speakers of Connecting the Stars, a Symposium. You can purchase a single speaker presentation ticket or a ticket to get full access to the event by going to zionzeta.com/Daniel James. Daniel James is an actor and filmmaker. As someone who has dealt with medical ailments for more than half his life, his challenges led him into a journey of self-discovery into such topics as metaphysics, quantum mechanics, channeling, extraterrestrials, disclosure and truther concepts, and spirit science. Daniel now spends a lot of his energy infusing these concepts into his art and films. You can check out his work at facebook.com/Tragic Hero Productions. That is TRAGICHEROPRODUCTIONS. Again, you can purchase a single speaker presentation ticket or a ticket to get full access to the event by going to zionzeta.com/Daniel James. If you are listening on iTunes, Google Play, or SoundCloud, it is recommended that you watch this interview on YouTube for the best experience. The rest of the interviews with the speakers from Connecting the Stars, a Symposium will also be in video format as well. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel by going to zionzeta.com/YouTube. All right, everyone. So thank you so much for joining us today on the Spiritual Alien Podcast. Today we have a very special guest. His name is Daniel James. So Daniel, welcome to the Spiritual Alien Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. Grateful to be here.
I am very honored to have you here today. And Daniel, I want to start with the first question. Who was Daniel James before becoming the Daniel James that we all know and love today?
Well, that's a fun question because I think that I've kind of been this version of Daniel James since high school. I don't think that I've grown up much in that sense. I've always been fascinated and drawn to acting and filmmaking. Some sort of, entertainment and film production is what I've always done since right out of high school. And then I didn't really start my spiritual journey and my own ascension path until more recently, maybe even like 2014, 2015 was when I really started to get into the more community that we're all part of.
Okay, so speaking of which, what triggered your spiritual awakening? What made you interested in ET life and spirituality?
That's a great question. I'll keep it as brief as I can. In 2012 and everything prior to 2012, which was a very expansive year for a lot of people, that was when I triggered my spiritual awakening. I developed some medical issues that were pretty serious, and I was going through a divorce at the time. So I was married once and went through a divorce in 2012. And, going through the divorce process while being chronically ill and having medical issues, I reached at what, we would term in our society as like a rock bottom. It's a very, very dark, challenging time for me. And it's usually when we hit those points in our lives, vibrational becomes visible. Something shows itself to us. It serves as a trigger, serves as like a light tower in the dark to lead us on that path of awakening. So I had just been brought into some books, and I'd been brought into the concept of channeling at the time, and getting into the concepts of, what the meaning of life is, and the journey of the soul, and understanding how reality works from a more metaphysical perspective. That got me into concepts like what else is out there, in addition to what is the meaning of life, like why am I suffering, why am I so unhappy, why are we here. In the pursuit of that question, that's when I started to peel back these layers and turn these new pages of things like extraterrestrial life. What are densities, what are dimensions, what is ascension, what does it all mean. So it was in 2012, when I was medically ill and going through a divorce, that my awakening triggered and led me on that journey of sort of that step-by-step process that we all go through, in seeing what's behind the.
That's amazing. And it's interesting how one thing leads to the other. That's how we know that everything has been planned at a cosmic or universal level, even though we don't always know how things are going to work out. So, now I had a geeky question that has nothing to do with any of this. Along the years, I'm sure you have used various cameras for filming and photography, whether from the same brand or different brands. So, if there was a Daniel kit, what would it include and why?
Filmmaking. Okay, well, as a videographer and a cinematographer, I would love, if we're talking cameras, the Sony A7 III is like the new hot thing right now. That's what videographers are drawn to, and that's what they want to use. Not just because of its awesome specs, but you can get a body for less than $2,000, and it's got like everything that industry professional videographers want to use. So like the Sony A7 III, or if you got like a bigger budget, you can get like a C200 is very popular. Like, I'm a Canon guy, so I don't know if you like Canon or not, but like
Oh,
I would
I
like
am.
a Canon C200 with like Rokinon cine lenses would be awesome, or a Sony A7 III with like Rokinon glass. I'm a big fan of Rokinon, and then that's what I would probably use to shoot like music videos and short films and um, weddings and things like that. Like, those are some of my favorite cameras. And then I don't know what you use to edit with, but I edit on Adobe Premiere Pro. So
I
that's,
do. Yes, I use the same software.
yeah, funny story. I have two computers. I have a laptop and a desktop. My laptop is on Windows 10 and my desktop is on Windows 7. Well, Adobe Premiere Pro just released version 13 2 days ago, a couple days ago, and it turns out that you have to have Windows 10 for it. So I'm in the process as we speak right now in the other room. I'm actually reformatting my computer and installing Windows 10 just so I can use a new version of Premiere Pro so that it's compatible. So I'm doing that right now, which is fun.
Well, I'm going to call you out here and say Windows 7 is old.
Yeah, I know.
So it is time to upgrade all areas of your life,
Yeah,
including technological devices.
I agree. Absolutely. I'm with you.
It's all about cleansing the house and purging what you no longer need and becoming lighter so that you can keep on moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got to drop that old dense energy. We can't take it where we're going.
Get rid of the old shit, Dan Him. Okay, so what projects are you working on right now?
Okay. Well, I'd like to address two things then. Brad Johnson, who channels at Dronus, he's a good friend of mine. We've been buddies since 2015. Well, he and I produce films together. We have the Inbound Interception, which we are marketing to festivals right now. He and I just pitched to New York City, Atlanta, and Los Angeles. So we're trying to get the festival to screen. We're trying to get that film to screen in a festival in one of those bigger markets throughout the middle of 2019. And then we're going to go ahead and self-distribute, so that film will be available digital download on things like YouTube or Vimeo. And we're excited to get that movie out. It's a 30-minute sci-fi film that it's based on concepts that Brad and I are very passionate about, like the liberation of Earth. And it's like a coming of age tale about a young girl who is raised by extraterrestrials to help sort of combat and overthrow the shadow governments and the cabals and things like that. So that's what that film is about. And so festivals right now for that. And then I myself am self-producing a web series, and it's called Reality Mechanics with Daniel James. So what I'll be doing is um, talking about spirit science and metaphysics. So I'll take a specific concept, say for example the concept of identity, and I'll look at it from a more metaphysical perspective, or an episode that we're shooting this month, this from a more metaphysical perspective. And what I'll do is I'll portray that story as myself, but we'll do kind of like little scenes. So the first episode is on what is the meaning of life, and the second episode will be paradox. So as we get further into the series, we'll have like little scenes to kind of help, illustrate the concept better. So it'll always be me, it'll always be Daniel James, but I'll be like almost depicting like a scene from a movie to sort of deliver these concepts. So I'm pretty excited about it, and the first season will be 4 episodes. So we're working on that right now, and I look forward to getting it out as soon as possible. The only holdup is that I'm the editor, and I compose the music, and I do all
I
of
know
that.
the struggle.
So when I have clients, and I have other gigs that, are time sensitive, or they support my cost of living, then I have to do those things first, and then I can work on my own stuff in my free time, which I don't have any of.
Yay!
I'm hoping, like the plan was like November, I was going to put out an episode every week. So there was going to be 4 episodes of my web series in November, but due to the fact that I have some work, which is good, work is good. Thank you for hiring me.
Yes.
I appreciate work. I'm probably going to have to do it for like a December 1st launch, but I'm really excited about it. I think it'll be fun. It's like an entertainment type of thing. It's non-invasive, so I'm looking forward to people seeing that side of me and getting out in that way, and talking about things that I'm passionate about in a creative way.
I am very excited as well to see what you're up to and what you release out there into the masses, because you have been doing a lot of hard work. And I know, because I am a stalker, I am always around somewhere hiding, watching everything. So I am very intrigued to see what you come up with, because when creative people go quiet, it's because they're working on various big things that they want to launch. So I am really looking forward to these projects that you're up to. And of course, don't forget about yourself and taking care of yourself along the way as well.
Thank you. I do need the reminder, absolutely. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so you consider yourself an ET ambassador. So, in what way are you doing this?
Okay, I'll keep it brief. I've been having personal, interactions with, extraterrestrial races ever since I was a little boy, ever since I was a kid, and I'm in my early 30s now, so you can imagine that that's a long time being in the presence of, non-human terrestrial beings. So it started with, physical sightings of craft, and I can tell you and everybody else listening right now that when you see a craft, when you have a sighting of of a ship in any way, shape, or form, it is a pre-planned, synchronized event. It's not a mistake. It doesn't happen by accident. It's not coincidence. Coincidence doesn't exist. Um, Anytime you see a ship, those are parallel versions of yourself amongst that race of beings that are specifically making their presence known to you. So that being said, whenever you see a craft, whether you're a kid or you're an adult, you have to know that that's your family up there saying hello in some way, shape, or form. So that being said, I've never in my life had a negative perspective or opinion on extraterrestrials. I see all the movies, in mainstream media that push this agenda that they're there to hurt us and scare us and do terrible things. I've never believed that to be true. I've never known that to be a fact. So seeing craft my whole life, um, I've just known that their presence was there, and I've felt comforted by that. And then it moved to dreams, where I would have, very vivid, deliberate dreams where I'm interacting with extraterrestrial beings, whether they're talking about, my life amongst their races, or whether they're doing some sort of like, you know, genetic DNA alterations to me. There's always been interactions in the dream realm. So then getting into a more physical example of that idea, we have channelers. You know, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of channelers. We have famous, you know, successful channelers. We have channelers who are doing it for free, you know, on YouTube and on the internet. We have channelers who don't have an internet presence and just only do it in person. We have channeling as a conduit, as a platform to communicate with beings from other dimensions, other densities, other races of intelligent life like our own, just that are on other planets in our own system. So channeling serves as a vehicle, serves as that phone in that way that we can send and receive information. So I had taught myself how to channel in 2015, specifically for my movie, Those Who Seek. So when I had come into channeling, was about late 2013, early 2014, I taught myself how to do it for the sake of my film. So a lot of people ask me, okay, Daniel, well, you're a channeler. How come you don't do it more publicly, or how come you don't offer it as a service? And my answer is simply because I never had set out to do it specifically for that reason. We have amazing channelers. You know, you've got, you know, your Lee Carrolls and your Daryl Ankas, you know, and your Brad Johnsons and your Roxanne Swainharts and your Rob Gothiers, and you've got, you know, your Michaela Sheldons, and you've got you've got amazing people that are just channeling all over the internet. We don't need more people just, you know, anybody that wants to do it in a public way, there's a reason for that. And that's great. And I just never felt called to do it publicly. So I channel privately to my friends and my family. I channel in person to people. And I'll probably channel for an episode on my web series at some point, but I never just felt called to do it publicly because I feel like my relationship with my extraterrestrial star family is more intimate. It's always just been for me. Not necessarily that it has to be private. It's just that it always has been. So I developed it as a vehicle to communicate with them for me. You know, we've got amazing channelers who are doing that publicly, and I just never felt like I had to step up and be another face in the crowd doing something that was already being done very well by other people. So, as an extraterrestrial ambassador, I have my own personal interactions with them um, through dreams, and we all have personal conscious interactions with them that we don't remember. And then I communicate with them directly through channeling. So I channel a being from Orion who is reptilian. He's very, very benevolent and sweet and loving, and their race is called the Za. And they're little short, little like 3-4 feet bipedal reptilians that are very happy and loving and friendly. And so I work with a being who calls himself Hermes, and he's who I usually channel when I do channel. So Hermes, as we know from Greek mythology, he's a messenger, which is what Hermes likes to think of himself as, is being a bridge to the gap in between his race and our own. So as far as I know, there's only one other person that channels any beings from that entire society, which I think is very cool. So Hermes is doing what we're doing, in the sense where he's reaching out to other races and making contact in whatever way that we're allowed to, which so happens to be channeling at this time. So as an extraterrestrial ambassador, I'm communicating to Hermes and his race of reptilians in Orion called the Za. And I have a film about channeling called Those Who Seek. And that's free to watch on YouTube. Anybody can check that out. And that's kind of like that's based on true events that shows my journey into channeling. And then what I believe, in my own personal opinion regarding being an extraterrestrial ambassador, is there will be people who are ready for open contact when we as a collective race or individuals start having open contact that we remember and we don't forget through amnesia. There's going to be a select group of people who are ready for that frequency, who can handle that type of interaction without getting scared or going into trauma or, you know, being defensive. You know, it's a very delicate thing when you're integrating humans and non-human terrestrial beings, and it will be nothing like we've seen in the movies. Okay, it's going to take specific people who are equipped to handle that type of interaction, and these are your people who are making whatever forms of contact they can with the tools that we have available right now as it is in our density and our dimension. That just so happens to be channeling and mediumship and, dream interactions and things like that. That's what we have. I wish it were more. A lot of people who are passionate about, meeting their extraterrestrial star families, we wish it were more, but right now, that's what's available to us. Channeling is, I think, in my personal opinion, the closest form of communication that we have to non-human terrestrial beings. And so, due to the fact that I channel those beings and I can channel them, uh, and the sightings of crafts that I've had my whole life, ever since I was a kid, and the interactions that I've had in the dreamscape, I feel that when the time is right, select individuals will start having one-on-one personal open contact that we don't forget. It won't be in a dream, and it will be in a very physical way. And those people will start integrating. And then when we as a collective race are to a point where we can accept that not only are extraterrestrials real, that life on other planets exist, but we're ready to make contact, there will be people like you and I. You're one of them, absolutely, obviously. With the work that you do and the frequency that you hold, you are an extraterrestrial ambassador. It's all over the work that you do. It's all over the things that you talk about. It's in your day-to-day life. Like, you will be one of the people who has open contact before the collective does. So will I. So in a sense, you're an ambassador also. So what that means is when we as a collective are ready to have open contact, select people will be, I don't want to say chosen, but it'll be like a frequency thing. It'll be like a vibration thing where the ETs will just know who can be present with them without having, like, a panic attack. And, we'll step up and we will be the bridge to the gap between them and our people. So everybody that's not ready, everybody that's still very third and fourth dimensionally oriented and very ego based, they're not going to be ready to accept that, you know, those beings are real, let alone the fact that they're going to be landing on our planet and shaking our hands. There's a lot of people who won't be ready for that. So people like us and other people, members of our community, will be the bridge to the gap. We'll be the ones who make first contact and then introduce these beings into our society in behalf of our collective race who maybe is not quite ready for that, And so that's my long-winded definition of what an extraterrestrial ambassador is. We're the bridge to the gap, and we're doing it in whatever ways we can until bigger, more inclusive physical ways become available to us. The end.
That's amazing. That was an amazing response that you gave me there, Daniel. And I wanted to thank you so much. This is something that many people need to hear and to be reminded of. It is so easy to slip into the fear mode. Oh, aliens are going to kill us. Oh my God. But if they wanted to, they would have done it a long time ago. So that tells you that we are protected and that there are more benevolent forces than evil ones out there who
Absolutely.
are also protecting us as well. So it is a very important message that I hope many people out there who are listening and tuning in, that they also apply into their lives as well, and to drop the fear. Because if the fear has not been helping you, why keep holding on to it? It's kind of like holding on to, and I know it's no comparison, but it's like holding on to a toxic relationship or connection with a family member. If it's not serving you, why just not move on from it? So it's about working through the fear and transmute that so that you can come back again to a space of love, so that you can invite that loving vibration into your life, so that it starts reflecting into your life as well.
Absolutely. Well said. I agree.
Okay, so tell us more about your movie, Those Who Seek, because I am curious now that you've gotten into detail about it.
Thank you. Well, it's online now. It's free to watch. And what my intention was, my team, Tragic Hero Productions, what our intention was at the time was we wanted to create a movie, which is a form of entertainment, that would help deliver concepts and ideas to people who were new to them. Okay, so we talk about channeling, we talk about the law of attraction, we talk about metaphysics, we talk about we touch a little bit on more of the shadow government side in a way, and My definition is, what's the easiest way to deliver a concept to people that may be new to them, that's non-invasive, non-threatening, you're not shoving it down their throats, it's entertainment. Okay, so whether that's art, whether that's music, whether that's like a movie or a TV show, or whatever your artistic medium is, it's the least invasive way to offer a new idea or a new concept to somebody that doesn't make them feel threatened, right? Because everybody likes to watch movies. So so the whole purpose of the film itself was just to promote concepts and ideas that we were passionate about in a way that would be fun, and non-invasive to anybody who might have beliefs that don't agree with some of those concepts. So we did a crowdsourcing campaign. It was very successful. We raised money and we got some donations, and we shot this low budget independent sci-fi movie that was loosely based on some true events. So if you were to watch the film, some of the things that you would see in the film have happened to me in a way. And we just tell the story of this character who's kind of going through some challenges that triggers his awakening. And then um, that's kind of where his journey starts. So Rob Gauthier is in the film, Brad Johnson's in the film, Nora Harold's in the film, Wendy Kennedy is in the film. So we integrate those channelers who were nice enough to donate their time and their energy to help further the story. Um, and so yeah, so it's called Those Who Seek. It's on our YouTube channel for free, Tragic Hero Productions, and we're very proud of it. It was uploaded twice. Two separate times, and in between the two uploads, it's got like 16,000 views, which is pretty cool. So that's exciting. But anybody is free to watch that, and I'd love to hear, anybody's thoughts and feedback on the film. It was a very modest effort, so it was a low budget independent film that we shot in 5 days, and we did our best, but we're proud of it. And as a result, it's led to some positive things. We were able to get The Inbound Interception produced, which had a $30,000 budget. So.
That's amazing. And it's incredible how you guys do all these amazing things by yourselves without necessarily being corrupted by Hollywood, so to speak,
Right.
Which tends to censor the original messages in some of the movies, and they get replaced with fear-based agendas.
Absolutely.
Or there's always something fishy in the movies that demonizes everything. So I am very happy to see independent producers, directors, filmmakers such as yourself who are putting messages out there in the form of movies.
Yeah.
Because we don't see enough movies out there that portray a positive message when it comes to ETs, and especially someone's journey when they are awakening. There are not exactly many movies where you see the main character having a spiritual awakening and dealing with it.
Yeah.
And what happens during it and after it, and all the things and synchronicities that come later on in this person's life for having awakened. So I am very honored to have such a big, important, beautiful, kind, special, loving person such as yourself, another creative person like myself here who is also doing his part of the mission, which is bringing disclosure through film.
Absolutely. That's my entire mission. I mean, that is why I'm here. That is what my plan is. And the beings that I work with, the Za, they explained to me that they also use entertainment as a form of ascension in their community. So they use entertainment to help expand their consciousness. And that was one of the reasons why they were attracted to work with me specifically and work with humans and Earth, is because music and television and film and other forms of art can be used as a vehicle to expand consciousness. And so that's my mission. That's why I'm here. I'm not going to stop. I will just continue doing art that depicts these concepts. And that's my offering to raise the collective vibration and expand the collective consciousness through entertainment. That's 100% my mission.
And I fully support you on that. You know that.
I know.
Okay, so now, who else are you currently working with in our community? Now that we're talking about these projects and all these people involved in movies, who else is involved in your community with these projects?
Let me think. Well, there's always there's always going to be Brad Johnson. Not only do he and I work together creatively, but we're also friends. So I think that specifically regarding the inbound, he and I will probably work on projects together forever. Um, Rob Gothier and Kalina Angel are good personal friends of mine, and I'll be traveling to Asheville, North Carolina at the beginning of November for Rob's channeling event, where I'm going to help him and Kalina shoot it as a videographer. I would love to help them, with that project. So I'll help them shoot that, and I may even help them edit that a little bit. I'm also now working with Emily Harrison from the Akashic Academy. I will be editing some videos and some advertisements for her and her company, which I'm very excited about and very grateful for that particular task. So eventually, all of the new videos that she'll have, I will have made those for her. So that's exciting to know that her and I get to work together, and she's doing amazing work as well. To those who are familiar with the Akashic Records, they're doing pretty powerful work. So that's exciting. There's yourself in the Symposium. Can't forget that. Very excited to be doing that.
Oh my gosh, even my headphones fell off.
Can't forget about the Zion Zeta Symposium. So I'm very excited about my program, where I'll be talking about disclosure through entertainment, and I'll also be talking about channeling and ascension. So those will be the topics that I'll be offering my lecture on to anybody interested. And so there's that. Let me think. I don't think that there's anything else lined up. I'm just very passionate about getting my web series off the ground, because once that's out there and the world can kind of see me in that way, I think that that'll be a new platform, almost like a rebranding of myself, that will open new doors and new synchronicities and new opportunities to collaborate with more people.
Okay, so that actually leads me to the next question. What are your plans for yourself and your work going forward? Because I know that you have a lot on your plate right now. So, what are your plans for yourself and your work going forward?
At this time, it's very important to us that we make the most out of our film, The Inbound Interception. So once we finish our festival circuit, which will be about the middle of 2019, we're going to make that film available for download on YouTube and Vimeo. So it's exciting for us to get that movie out, because it's a very powerful film about an individual much like Neo from The Matrix, where she's just being trained to, she's being trained to fight back, trained to defend Earth, trained to free us from slavery. Those are concepts that we're very passionate about. So my web series, we are producing a 4-episode web series that will be on the meaning of life and the concept of paradox, the concept of identity, and the concept, my perspective, of extraterrestrials. So those will be the first 4 episodes that we're going to be shooting and putting out this winter. So I'm very excited about that. And then going forward, I have several screenplays that I've written, and they are ready. I could go into production on these films right now if they had a budget. And these are films that are about disclosure and extraterrestrials, and films about the shadow government and the cabal, and liberating Earth, and the secret wars that are happening that we don't see in a public way, but are very real, and that are happening both on the Earth, inside the Earth, in space, and other dimensions. I have films that I've written about these concepts that I would very much like to produce. So it's a matter of getting those concepts and those ideas out there, and seeing if we can get finance to continue producing films like Those Who Seek and The Inbound Interception. And so the ultimate goal is to just continue making conscious media, whether it's a TV show or a web series or a documentary or a feature film. My ultimate goal with my own work and my art is to keep getting these stories out there, keep getting these messages out there, keep waking people up, and using entertainment as a vehicle to do that.
Daniel, that brings me to an interesting question that just came to mind. My fear is, what if Hollywood ever picks up a film that you have in mind, but they want to distort the message once you have signed contracts? How would you deal if Hollywood picks up your story and they go on with, okay, we will keep it according to the original plan, but then you find out that they have twisted some parts of the story?
That's a good
Like,
question.
yeah, because my fear is we're doing all these things to go big and go public with everyone. So sometimes we put trust in these companies to help us spread the message, and they make us believe something, but then they twist some things here and there, kind of like the story of Travis Walton with Fire in the Sky.
Right.
So what would be your reaction, or what would you do knowing that Hollywood can be fishy? Would you risk yourself to give them one of your films for them to produce and make big, or would you not go with that idea?
Well, that's a good question. Let me just preface that real quick. I'll make my answer as brief as I can. I am on my laptop and my battery is dying, so I don't have too much time left, unfortunately. I do apologize, but let me give you a brief response to that question. So, if we had a script or a screenplay and we wanted it produced with a big budget and a studio or an executive producer was willing to finance it, to back it financially so that we could have it produced, it would be under two circumstances. A, we would sell the script, sell the rights, they would pay us a lot of money for it, and then they would do whatever they want to it because they would own the rights to that concept. And there would be nothing I could do. They could demonize it and skew it as much as they'd like. And because I collected a paycheck and signed off on it, that would be the end. The second option would be is if they heard about our concept, they read our script, and they wanted to finance us to produce it. They would either A, give us full creative freedom, where they would say, hey, I believe in your story, I believe in your concept. And that does happen because with Those Who Seek and The Inbound, we were given money by executive producers to produce the movie the way that we wanted. So that does happen, and we're very grateful, and that can happen again. But in the other hand, if they were to say, I'll give you, 15 million or $20 million to produce your feature, but you're going to change this, and this, then it would just be a matter of my having to choose. Am I willing to let them, sort of skew my story and the energy attached, and then it would become something else that would not be representative of the truth, and live with that for the paycheck? Or I could simply say no and decline the offer and wait until another studio who is willing to let us keep the creative freedom and finance us. We would wait for that opportunity. Now, the third part of your question is, let's say we sign a contract and there's an agreement between us and a producer or a studio who's paid for things, and then they go ahead and they change things on top of the agreement. There would just be a big legal battle. I mean, they could get sued for that. So we would be protected under certain terms, which would be negotiated prior to the signing of the contract. So we would be able to protect the story as long as they agreed to allow us to keep creative freedom. Which doesn't mean that they wouldn't involve other writers, because that's very common. But if their other writers did something to the integrity of the story that compromised it, that would be a infringement of the agreement, and there would be a lawsuit.
Good. That's great to know, because, with Big Brother around, it can be quite challenging to the smaller person or group to defend themselves. But I'm glad that even those of us who are not so popular or mainstream yet or in Hollywood still have our own rights to our own individual
Yeah.
creativeness.
Yeah.
So, Daniel, where can people find you and your work?
Thank you so much. Well, I'm on all the social medias. I have a YouTube channel, it's Tragic Hero Productions. I also have I'm starting a new YouTube, which will be more just for myself and for the web series I've discussed. And then I have Instagram, Daniel James XIX, and we have a Tragic Hero Productions Instagram, and then I have Facebook pages for everything. So I have a Daniel James Facebook page and a Tragic Hero Productions Facebook page.
All right. So, Daniel, thank you so much for being a part of the Spiritual AM podcast today. I am very honored to have you in Connecting the Stars, a symposium, and I really am looking forward to your presentation. So, thank you for joining me and all of us today tuning in. And to those of you out there, thank you so much for watching, listening, and tuning in. This is Zion Zeta, always at your service. Remember to grab your free gift, which is the mini version of my book, Connecting the Stars, to read 7 random chapters for free, as well as the Astro Travel Starter Guide for Beginners and the 20 Ways to Raise Your Vibe by going to zionzeta.com/freebies. To connect with me on social media or to know more about who I am and the work that I do, you can also find me on my website, zionzeta.com.